Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Today's interesting. I'm on the last tail end of the flu, according to the doctor. How I got it, I don't know. I just really hope my nephew didn't catch it, because I was with them over the weekend. And 1 month-old baby, sick grown man, not the best combination, but you got to do what you got to do. My cousin got married, so I was at her wedding, and her and her husband. So, it sort of complex situations with family. So, also, if you're single and you're going to a family wedding, and then you're like, hey, maybe I can get a date or a number from one of your other family members' friends. Not necessarily guaranteed when you're in your 30s, because more likely they're with somebody. So anyway, just a side note. Today's show is going to be a little bit interesting, just mainly because it's late and I need to sort of wrap this up, but I also have to generate this before I leave on Friday, so I'm recording this on a Tuesday. We're going to talk about the Avengers Roundtable as a resource. Its place in the meta right now. I sort of touch on it on my interview on Generation Clicks, so you can go check that out. I am I guess a 0.5 episode, I assume. I don't think I'm a full episode, so I'm sort of like Howard Brock. I'm one of those limited edition things that they did. So I don't know. Does that increase my value? Anyway, all right. So we're just primarily just going to talk about the Avengers Roundtable. So let's just go ahead and get into that. First off, if you hadn't listened to my analysis of the ID cards, go into last show and I sort of break down which ID cards are good and why, and what they bring out in modern age. If you want to go in the golden age, I'm betting you can find some weird stuff that could help your team do all sorts of cool things. But I'm mainly focusing on modern age. All right, so let's look at this. Let's start from the beginning. Force construction. Avengers Roundtable costs 5 points. Add up to 6 distinct ID cards. That means that the most that you're going to end up paying for the resource and all the ID cards is 35 points. So that's pretty reasonable. It's a little bit more expensive than the Book of the Skulls, and it's slightly more expensive than the Power Plant. But you're pulling in figures for 5 more points. So there's that. You have up to 6 distinct ID cards may be attached to this resource by paying their cost, so there's no hidden cost. ID cards may not be included on your force in other ways. So you can't be like, hey, here's my round table, and then boom, I have 3 ID cards on the side. So it does limit your selection. So you need to make sure that you pick wisely. Setup. ID cards attached to resource styles start with ID slot 1 and filling each ID slot incrementally. So no matter what, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can't do 1, 4, 5, 6 or something like that. Each ID slot with an additional ID card during force construction is called an active set if this ID card has been removed. So let's go over that again. ID cards attached to the resource starting with ID slot number 1 wow, that's really bad. And filling each ID slot incrementally. Each ID slot with an attached ID card during force construction. So it doesn't matter if you use it or not. It just matters during force construction. It's called an active slot. Okay, so you're paying for your active slot, so just keep that in mind. Clicking the dial. When you remove an ID card from the resource using its call-in help ability, you may roll a d6 and then turn this a resource dial clockwise that many times. When a friendly character takes damage from an opposing character's attack, after actions resolve, you turn this resource dial once clockwise, and then turn it a second time if the damage assigned to that character was 3 or more. This resource dial can't be clicked beyond click number 25. So that's pretty good. So if you take damage, you get to sort of power it up. Also, something to note, if you were, it is the fact that you were dealt 3 or more damage, that you sort of get some bonus clicking. So that's nice. So it says if you're getting hurt really bad, then you're able to get, help in there sooner. So there's some benefits to that. Scoring. Each time an ID card is removed from the resource, your opponent scores that ID card. The base cost of this resource is scored if no ID cards are attached. So be careful. Really got to be careful with that. So you can't just have an empty base. This resource and any other attached ID cards are scored if all friendly characters have been KO'd. So yay. So we're going to look at the first trait, the star trait listed here. Is I can help right now. You may use any attached ID cards call in help ability. Then the second is I'm better suited for these foes after revealing your force, but before placing characters. So revealing your force, remember, it's like when you roll, then you get to determine who goes first. Okay. First person, the person that goes first picks map, but they also reveal first. Okay, so that is a key thing. All right, so there's going to be more incentive of not showing your figures until you actually have to reveal. Okay, this is huge. A lot of people don't really pay attention to that. Now, for larger tournaments, this is going to be a problem because you're going to be able to see your opponent's sheet. And then if you go first, and let's say there's no Lydia or Parallax or Arcade or any of that, and you just look at your opponent's sheet, there's no incentive for you to go second to reveal. So your opponent reveals first, you see their team, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to put in Hawkeye or whatever. Okay, so there's something really to think about that. In your local meta, if you got that one guy that's a little bit of edgy, then yeah, this is a huge thing. So going back, after revealing your force, but before placing characters in your starting area, you may replace a friendly character on your force with an ID card character of equal or less points from your sideline. That character is no longer an ID character, and its ID card is removed from this resource. So, okay. So, boom, it's gone. Call in the reservist. At the beginning of your turn, if a parachute drop number is revealed and that ID slot is active. Now, note, an active slot is what you pay for at the beginning. And empty, you may replace an ID card that was removed because you used its call-in help ability into that slot. So you have to use the call and help. You can't use I'm better suited for these foes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So if someone says like, hey, beginning the game, I swap in Hawkeye. Oh, I'm rolling. I get to use the reservist. Okay, well, I'm going to call in that slot that Hawkeye was using. Nope, you don't get to do that. Then if you do, turn this resource dial once clockwise. Okay, cool. So you can... if the number is revealed due to the ID slot is active and empty, you may place an ID card that was removed because you used its call and help ability. Yep. If you do, turn this resource dial once clockwise. So you have the ability to like reload. So that's sort of nice, but you're not dealing with infinite reloading. All right, going on, lending moral support. Number 1 power. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose a friendly character and roll a d6. Until your next turn, that character can use the inspiration of the ID card in that ID slot. All right. This is the beginning of silly. Okay. Now, I want you all to understand that this isn't me hating or even saying that blah, blah, blah stuff is bad. But if WizKids is now sort of getting into the mindset, well, hey guys, let's start trying to balance out these resources. This is good and this is bad. Okay, why is this good and why is this bad? It's good because if we look at most of the inspirations, like let's just be honest here, they're not that OP. Like let's just go through real quick. +1 attack, +2 range, +2 speed, +1 damage, +2 range, +1 defense, +2 speed, +1 attack, +1 defense, +1 damage. Modify attack value by +2 when making a close combat attack, specifically close combat attacks. Modify defense values by +2 against range combat attacks, very specific. Modify speed by +3. Modify attack and damage values by +1 when making range combat attacks. Modify speed value by +1. Modify attack value by +1 when making close combat attacks. Modify defense value by +1 against close combat attacks. Like you hearing this? Like it's not that OP. It's really not. Like let's look at this. Novar can use probability control when targeted by an opponent's attack. Okay. Vision can use phasing teleport and Avengers team ability. Oh, okay. Opposing characters can't use perplex as a machine man. While that one could be a little bit controlling, I can see how that one somebody might really want that one. Okay. So you can start to see that the stat bumps aren't that huge. So if you're looking, against currently, which would probably not be phased out. Ooh, I'm tempted to say that Invincible Iron Man is probably going to get phased out after this Gen Con. But if it doesn't, then that's fine. But we're really looking at not a lot of stat bumps. Come to think about it. So if you do get a lot of stat bumps, you're going to get it from like the perplexes from the Blue Lantern battery. Than you are from turning down the dial on a power battery. But the power plant is the only one that really is giving stat bumps, but you have to burn a ring. So there's a cost to be paid for that. So it's very situational, and then it's very random. But you also have to look at your dial, is that your dial is full of ones, like really full of ones. And if we look really close, because they gave us a nice little picture, I think it's up to number 14. So over half of your dial is one. That one ability. Okay. So there's a problem there. There's a huge problem there because you're not going to get any huge bonuses, and then on top of that, it's random. You may choose a friendly character, and it's only going to be on one character. So let's just say I'm going to go through just like I would if I was playing this. Okay, let's go in at the beginning of your turn. Let's do this. All right, so let's say I've taken, because I'm not going to be just popping off cards to turn this dial. So let's just say I've taken 3 damage. So 1, 2. So now I'm on number 3. Okay, so I've taken more damage, and let's say in the turn I've taken a total of 3 attacks, each doing 3 damage. Okay, so that moves me up to 6. Now, I'm really hurt at this stage. All right. That's really causing a lot of problems for me. Now, I could call in help. Okay, so I call in help and I roll a d6 and then I get to turn the dial. Let's just say I roll really good. Let's say I roll a 4. So that's 10. Okay. That's not bad. So, but I've took 3 solid attacks of 3 damage or more. Now, let's say if I didn't take 3 damage or more on all those attacks, let's just say I did 1. I took 2 damage. Let's say 2 damage. All right, so I took 2 damage from the attacks. So I'm only getting 3 because I took 3 attacks. And then I can roll the dice. And let's just say I roll a 3. So I'm at 6. So if that happens again, that puts me at 12. That's the next turn I get attacked. So you could start to see that you're not powering through this anytime soon. And getting to 2 is the second half of it. So let's look at 2. I can't get there, but I can advise. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose an ID card attached to this resource that you didn't choose last time. Until your next turn, friendly characters can use the inspiration of that card. Now, this is a huge thing because this is what's going to allow that Ares card to be a mandate. Ares and then Iron Man. Now, you might say like, well, why is that? Well, Ares allows you to use steel energy at range. And if you're taking a lot of damage, then yeah, you want to be healing. And that steel energy at range is also going to be really great. Then Iron Man has, he can use improved targeting, ignore hindering, modify attack by +1 when making a ranged combat attack. Well, the game is mostly ranged anyway. So that just makes you a lot stronger overall. I can think of some really good uses of Daredevil right now, but I can't say them out loud. I got to keep that one secret for right now. Just more recent projects that I'm going to be breaking out here. So, right. So you can start to see like I can't get there, but I can advise. It's not bad. It's just not too strong because you've taken either a good amount of damage or you've already burned through a good chunk of your cards because you only can have 6 cards. And let's say you roll an average of 3 for each time you burned a card. All right, so let's say we burn 3 cards. And so let's say each time we roll a 3. So that's going to give us 9. And then we're also taking damage. We have 3 cards left on the resource, and we're sort of stuck because these coming in, these attackers that are coming in, they have to land their attacks. They have to have the actions for it. But more importantly is if I'm still taking this incoming damage, because I mean the game is going on, the dial doesn't turn fast enough to, I hate to say, reward me for sticking it out. All right, so just think about that for a brief moment. And even more so, just think about this. If your substitution at the beginning of the game did not cover your weakness the way that you thought it would, you're already down a card. So, something to think about. It's an active slot that you can't use. All right, so let's look at the third power. Avengers Assemble. At the beginning of your turn, give any number of friendly characters power actions. For each one given, remove an ID card attached to this resource and place its ID character adjacent to the character given the action. This game, that character is no longer an ID character. It can't ignore pushing damage. and returns to your sideline when it takes damage. So you get to burn all these cards here. And while that's nice that you get to, burn all those cards, you're still stuck that if you don't have one card left on the base, your resource is gone. So they really need to establish like what happens then. Like if my resources is burned, do I get the option of still having those characters on the field, or are they destroyed? So that's just something to think about. Also, there's an incentive of revealing. I'm just looking at the dial a little bit more. There's an incentive of revealing or using your ID cards in order. So you need to be planning for either you're going to be doing a lot of rush down, beat up in the early game, or you need a lot of support in the early game, or you need a mid-tier attacker in the early game. So let's look at this really quickly, okay? So you have 6 slots on here, and you can see just about when each slot comes into effect. So you get to reload slot 1 on click 3, and I think you get to reload click 2 on 8, and 3 on 12. 16. Yeah, so yeah, 16 and should be 20 and 24. No, that's not right. It's the print is really, really tiny. So just, they didn't make it like real easy for you to look at. So 3. Okay. All right. 3, 7. Is that 11? Okay. 11, 15, 19, 23. Yeah. 15, 19, 23. All right. So it's increments of 4. Now, this could be useful if your opponents just happen to damage you specifically in the right number, because it pretty much says, hey, call in reservists at the beginning of your turn. If, that number is revealed and it's there, it's like, hey, all right, you get a card back. Early game, you do have an incentive to throw out that number 1, but the problem comes in is that number 1, you can easily just roll right past it. So you really have a higher incentive to make the number 1 slot that one ability that you need to keep on there for its ability. Your number 2, 3, and 4 are what you're going to need mid and early game. You have to look at you're summoning 6. You're primarily summoning 6. And 2 is really a backup. It's like your second, like, yeah, I need to use this or burn this. But I also, if I can get it back, great. But if not, and the dice go past it, I know I'm going to be alternating between my number 1 and my number 2 card. And you're really banking on piling it on for 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, that also means that your investment into those cards, into those slots specifically, is going to vary just based on your, the figures that you have on your team. Now, I will say this, and this is the fun part of it. You can't guarantee a reload, but at the same time, a reload is a huge game changer. Let me say that again. You can't guarantee a reload, but a reload is a huge game changer. Because your opponent still scores the points for you burning the card, but the fact of you being able to bring that card back and just sort of say, I double tap you. Definitely if that card and that figure was a huge boon to you for that turn, you're getting the inspiration of that character, plus you're getting the effects of that character. So for example, let's just say I'm using Iron Man card and I have a high point character out and he's damaged. I burn the Iron Man card. I bring out the new, not the Age of Ultron, the new Avengers Assemble Iron Man. He has prob. He's also giving my entire crew improved targeting improved targeting, modify attack by +1 when making a ranged combat attack. So my attacks are up. Okay. I got probability control and I'm able to bust a cap on these people and do a good amount of damage. And then now I'm able to almost ensure that my attacks are going to go off. Okay. So turns over, poof, he's gone. So there's, a little bit disappointed. I don't have him permanently, but let's just say that injured figure still maintains in the game and I'm able to land on that Iron Man reload and it's like, ooh, that's pretty good. Iron Man reload, boom, one more go, Iron Man, and that's it. That's something to really think about, that if you do get lucky, your chances for reloads are going to happen more likely around 3, 4, and 5, maybe 6. But your opponent is probably going to be a little bit more cautious around 6. And then also, too, is your options for bringing in ID cards is going to be a lot less once you get around 6, just mainly because you're going to have fewer figures on the map, just because of attrition. Okay, so it's something to think about. All right. Number 3 power is, again, Avengers Assemble. At the beginning of your turn, give any number of friendly characters a power action. For each one given, remove an ID card attached to this resource and place its ID character adjacent to the character given the action. This game, that character is no longer an ID character, can't ignore pushing damage, and returns to your sideline when it takes damage. So this is, again, sort of this issue, is that if you're able to make it to 3, and 3 is this last click, and you've trial and tribulations, let's say, again, your big guy's alive, and you're able to summon in that Iron Man again, that's great. That Iron Man is on top click, but he's sort of a gimped version of himself. He is. And if he takes damage, he goes to your sidelines. And this is any type of damage. Now, this is the other issue of, okay, we're balancing resources. If I bring in Iron Man from Age of Ultron, not Age of Ultron, Avengers Assemble, and I deal with Mystics, well, if I don't have access to Pulse Wave that turn, guess what? I need to really hit this Mystics character, and I just summon in this really high expensive Iron Man. I'm going to be a little pissed off, really, because this is my end game, is this guy, and if I take any damage, that's it. Even more so, you have to be concerned about end cap damage. Oh, guess what? I have 1 token on my guy, and you decide that you're going to TK out Sloth, and Sloth is going to triple target all my guys that I brought in this turn, and then give them all a token. And oh yeah, since they all have a token previously, they're going to take pushing damage, so they all disappear. And there goes my end game. So I know it's like, Edward, you're poo-pooing all over the resources whenever they come out. You're really not liking the resources. Yeah, until the game flushes out the, hey guys, I give you stat mods and it's crazy element of the game, then yeah, I'm going to sort of do that. But is this like the brave new world that we need? Yes and no. Uh, and here's why I say that. Let's just go back to the ID card mechanic and independent of the resource. Being able to summon in for 5 points a character equal to or less than the character giving the power action is huge. Because what it does say is this. On my sideboard, I have prepared this army. You do this one thing, and this one turn appears. I'm going to play my trump card. I'm going to place it squarely on the table. I'm going to say I'm going to burn this. Then I'm going to summon this guy. And that guy is going to do something that you're going to hate. And then when it goes off, I'm going to laugh inside. And then continue, my finishing my turn. It's your turn. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. And then bam, beginning of my turn, that magical guy that was oh so awesome is gone. Now, here's the huge thing that when we really just like break it down, I functionally have told my opponent the moment that I was using ID cards that this character or these characters allow me to deal with all of my field gaps, all of my holes that I have in my team, or allow my team to work more efficiently than it is. Period. Now, a lot of people might not like that. They don't like the concept of that, because when you start looking in the concept of that, it starts creating a situation where there's no such thing as the absolute team, but the error of margin starts to become a lot smaller. Now, if I start looking at this same reality with the resource, I have to ask myself, what bonuses is it really worth for 5 more points? Versus me playing a power plant, versus me playing a Book of the Skull, versus me playing a power battery. You see, these are the questions that we have to ask, because I could play the ID cards independent of all this other jazz. I can, I just can. And the ID cards by themselves are really strong. But for the fact that I am running the gamble to use, really the biggest reason to run the ID cards is if you're saying, screw it, I need to summon in Thor twice. And that's your gambit. That is your high stakes bet on 0-0, on the roulette table bet. That you're going to do that in all of your games. You're going to pull it off twice, at least twice, for it to be worth it. You're going to be like, yep, I'm going to be able to pull out Thor twice this game. Boom, boom, boom. I did it. I'm going to be able to pull out triathlon twice this game. Boom, boom, boom. I did it. And those sorts of bets are really, really strong. But when I start to look at the fact that I've burned that card twice, I've just gave my opponent 10 points, and in a close game, I'm just feeding my opponent points. Now you might say, well, Dark Logos team bases deal with this all the time. Yes, but I also can reabsorb a guy back onto my team base and fully heal him for absolutely nothing. Like, that's another sort of reality. So, excuse me. So you can start to see why my mind is looking at this and asking some really tough questions. Because now if we are going to go on and say like, well, Dark Logos, this is going to be the Vanguard resource right there with Rock of Eternity and Pandora's Box, when all the lanterns leave rotation, then I'm going to be like, wow, I wonder what we're going to see then. because now we're looking at figures attack values mattering a lot more, because I'm not getting these insane stat bumps. I'm only getting +1. And if we get an ID card that says, hey guy, you get +2, I'm telling you, +2 attack, I am telling you, if that's a rare, it's going to go for $30 to $40. Because again, it doesn't matter if it's like, hey man, summon in Mary Jane, +2 attack, Peter Parker's happy, or even let's say it's Spider-Man. Let's say Spider-Man would be a +2 defense or something, or super senses. But okay, let's just I'm trying to think of somebody really awesome that would actually have a high attack. A martial artist. Iron Fist. Okay, Iron Fist gets an ID card. This is in my magical world. We know he's not getting an ID card. Let's just say he is. He gives you +2 attack and exploit weakness. All right, bam. That's his inspiration. That's $50. $50 right there. There's so much stuff you could kill with that. If it's on just flat attack, just not even exploit weakness, just +2 attack, then yeah, you're talking about tons of figures that all of a sudden stay in the meta. Okay? Now, again, if you're looking at the resource and you're just saying, I'm stacking ID cards on here because of number 1, lending my moral support. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose a friendly character and roll a d6. Until your next turn, that character can use the inspiration of the ID card in that slot. If you feel that if you can roll a 1 through 6 and you can stack the same effect through 50% of your cards, so you're really not caring about the cards and the characters that you can bring in, you're more caring about the effect, then yeah, that's huge. So let's look at this really. All right. Let's look at the number of ones that modify attack. So Black Widow modifies attack. All right. Ronin modifies attack. So we're up to 2. Hellcat, I'm just saying, modifies attack. So that's 3. And Rick Jones modifies attack. So 4. Triathlon modifies attack. So I'm up to 5. And then I know Iron Man modifies attack, so 6. Okay, so we got 6. So that's pretty good. So we could say if we have stat problems, or you want to make sure we hit that absolute hit zone where we're looking at 13s and 14 attack values, then yeah, these characters help. If we're looking at 6, let's just say we're looking at 6 range characters, and we will want them to have a little bit more oomph. Hawkeye gives me +2 range. Justice gives me +2 range. I mean, that's great. So if we really want to say, like, all right, the only reason that I'm playing this resource is that I want to be able to utilize the inspirations without having to burn the cards, and knowing that I'm putting characters on there just so that I can stack the effects and not necessarily for the summons, even though I have characters on the side just in case, but I really want to stack those summons. So that's really it. You're really basing a majority of your time around that number 1 ability power and nothing really else. Because we are, as I said before, like number 3, while you're sort of grinding to get it, it's really not that worth it, because there's too many things that can be done that will completely screw you and make you lose that huge point guy that you just brought in. Like, imagine this. You bring in the Age of Ultron Hulk, and he's going in and he's smashing face, and you're like, yeah, Hulk, save my game, save my game, save my game. And then all of a sudden your opponent's like, well, you know what can, stop the Hulk? My Black Widow with a lullaby. In cap. Now you're gone, Hulk. You took pushing damage. It's sort of lame. It's sort of lame. Now I understand they're like, well, we don't want it so cheap for you to bring in like this huge landslide of figures, and I'm like, you didn't think about that with team bases, WizKids. But I can see the balance attempt, and that's the important thing. I mean, that's the important thing. They're trying to rebalance everything. They're trying to make it so that we are not just having crazy silliness going on. Now, I will say this. We're in a weird place because characters that can just give flat aura buffs will become stupid strong with this resource. Because if you're able to just summon in guys and it's just like, bloop, I'm just sitting here and I can up your attack by 1. So your PD, your Hydra TAs, what else? Your enhancement, your perplex, all these sort of support, like I just need to stand here type powers become way stronger. Oh, I grant everybody around me, range combat expert or whatever. So it can be really cool. So that's one advantage. Now, the problem I really come back to is, what's my incentive really to play the round table with ID cards versus just ID cards? And that's what you as a player needs to figure out. Is this meta in a year and a half? Or after July? It still has to compete against the Orange Battery. And this is the best part. The Orange Battery can't strip anything that this does. None of it. None of it. The worst that it can do is stop elements of the ID cards, but you can pick to just say, well, I just won't use that element of the ID card. But even still, it's oh man, it's rough. It's really rough because I know next year, going into Origins, this is going to be legal, and the Orange Battery is going to be legal. And I would still tell you, if WizKid stays on the route that they're going, that the Orange Battery, and heck, even, in certain circumstances, the Yellow Battery is better. Flat out. But I still would come back and say, like, all right, what are we really looking at? What are our real solutions? What are our real problems? Why are we looking, at the meta in these particular ways? What can we improve, our team design basis on? And what does game design have to do to sort of make sure that they don't make stupid level support figures? Like, we really can't afford for a bunch of, like, more characters like Weasel, or else we'll have a huge problem. Oh man, it's rough. It's really rough. But I really want to enjoy this, and something tells me a little bit down the ways we're going to say it's OP. Because it's either going to be a figure, it's going to be a figure in combination with another figure. That's really what I'm thinking. And I'm almost willing to bet it's going to be a Hawkeye, but he got too much love. Let me just look at this. It's either going to be Captain America, Thor. Yeah, it's either going to be Captain America or Thor. I'm just putting some bets down. like, and or Nick Fury or Nick Fury. Those are my bets. Because something that would come out and it's just like, oh hey guy, I'm Nick Fury. I get to use Outwit and ignore a line of fire. Or I'm Nick Fury. I get to use Outwit and can counter things that aren't normally countered. Oh, there goes your Omega Beam, your Omega Drive use. There you go. So, so much stuff to think about, and so much to sort of hope on. It's a lot of hope. So anyway, that's today's show. I know it's a little bit shorter than normal, by about like 15 minutes. So I'm going to be going to Tulsa this weekend. So that's why the show is recorded on, earlier in the week. And not only that, I'll be recording the quarry down there. So that's, you're already, if you listen to me, you're already going to be listening to the quarry. And so that's always fun when I do a live episode of the quarry. Another thing is be on the lookout for state championships. Check out the Missouri State Championships at Game Cafe in Independence, Missouri. I think we're going to be on the Saturday of that weekend. So we would love to see you all out there. And if Kansas has their state championship on Sunday, I would love to go to Kansas. Or love to go to... Actually, yeah, I would love to go to Oklahoma too. But anyway, somebody next door within 4 hours drive holds your state championship on a Sunday. And yeah. Anyway, so those are upcoming events. I am also going to Origins. So again, we're probably going to get a lot of topography because I can just preload that up and just send it out. I'm going to try to get some recordings done during, Origins, and just be like, hey guys, check this out. This is what I got for you. So that also is going to depend on internet and access and this, that, and the other. So again, it's going to get rough here in the next 3 weeks. But keep me, sort of keep me in mind that like, this isn't something like, oh, I'm just like, yeah, screw y'all. But it's like, it's a lot of stuff. So I got some equipment to move and some things I have to check out with my laptop. So anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. You can check out my random musings and find out when a new show is up. It didn't come from outer space this week. I think it just decided it wanted to live in my throat and said, this is a little warm. I like it here, but I have to use Ekbalo and expel it from my system. Anyway, then you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. Startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Thanks for all the emails about the podcast analysis. I do appreciate the feedback. Also, if you have any positive or negative, just keep it positive critiques of the show. You can email me anything that you think like I can improve, other than, hey, Dark Logos, don't record when your voice sounds like Darth Vader. Other than that, but just if there's anything that I can improve quality wise, just let me know. I'm always looking to improve the show. And last but not least, you can check out the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. You can find the buy list on there. Actually, you know what? I haven't put the buy list for Avengers Assembled because it's been a really long time for HC Realms to put everything into into the unit section. So because of that, I've I mainly use just like copy and paste out of the unit section. So it makes things a little bit easier on me. But if this keeps up, I'm going to have to just manually just go through and just like bloop, 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 and pick stuff out and then put it into the buy list. If you want to donate to the show, feel free to do so. Everything sort of goes to either the occupation of the show or making the show better, or prizes, prizes for everybody. Oh, and also, if you want to hire me for your personal heroclix coach, just email me, and then you just donate through the blog for payment. All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for tolerating my voice and the breaks I've had to take. And if you disagree with me about my assessment of the roundtable, let me know what sinister, dastardly deeds that you have planned for it. All right. That's it. Thank you all for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.